What up, YouTube? Timu's here. Since it is pretty much election day, and since this whole political stuff has pretty much been a comedy, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite political comedy movies. Because everyone has some pretty good political dramas. I mean, you know, whether you talk about, I don't know, any president-based movies from JFK to, I don't know, Bobby to The Contender to anything. There's also some really good political-based comedies. So, here are my top 10 favorite political comedies of all time. Number 10, I'm going to go with the 1990s film Black Sheep. Now, this is a comedy that starred Chris Farley and David Spade. Now, of course, this was a follow-up to their last outing together, which was, of course, the classic Tommy Boy. While Black Sheep is not as funny as Tommy Boy was, I still quite enjoy Black Sheep. Now, in Black Sheep, it starred Chris Farley, who portrays this character named Mike, who's this who plays like this gym teacher who has a terrible habit of showing up at the wrong time and he also embarrasses his brother Al, played by Tim Matheson, who's no stranger at political-based stuff because he portrayed Ronald Reagan one time in that Killing Reagan TV movie, so there's that. Anyway, his brother is also happened to be running for governor, and so Al ends up signing his aide Steve, played by David Spade, to take Mike to a remote cabin and hide out there for the remainder of the campaign. It is pretty much a campaign comedy, like a political-based comedy. You also had Gary Busey was also in this. Black Sheep was hilarious. I mean, like I said, it wasn't as funny as, Tommy Boy. Oh, sorry. I mean, Tommy Boy is a much better film. But it's a really, I miss Chris Farley. I was pretty much a kid when Chris Farley made his, big debuts and all that. But I still remember watching Chris Farley and stuff like, Tommy Boy and, man, Chris Farley gone way too soon. Him and David Spade's chemistry together were just outstanding. Like, they really play off each other well. I mean, if you guys haven't really seen Black Sheep yet, I'll say give it a shot. It's a really funny flick. Alright, coming in at number 9, I'm going to go with the comedy The Campaign. Now, this stars Will Ferrell as well as Zach Galifianakis, and you got Will Ferrell, who portrays this congressman named Cam Brady, who commits to a major gap, and you got these two wealthy CEOs decide to try to gain influence in their district by putting him up against a rival candidate. And they end up choosing this tourism director named Marty Huggins, portrayed by Zach Galifianakis. And, The Campaign is also directed by Jay Roach. He's no stranger for political-based films because he also did that, that one movie, forget the actual name, that had Julianne Moore as Sarah Palin. I think Woody Harrelson was Joe Biden in that film. What was the name of that film that Jay Roach did? It was that HBO film. It had Julianne Moore as Sarah Palin. I forgot the name. Game Change, I think it was called, or Game Change. I forgot the actual name, but it was actually a pretty good film. And of course, he is best known for directing the Austin Powers movies. He did the Meet the Fockers films. He also recently put out He also put out films like Trumbo, and he also just put out that HBO film Coastal Elite. He did a pretty good job with this film. You also had some other good cast members, like you had Dan Aykroyd, you had who else was in this? Oh yeah, Jason Statham was in this. The Campaign did not really get talked about as much when it got released, but it's actually much funnier than people give it credit for. I mean, the stuff that happens in this movie is just hilarious. Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis going back and forth with each other. It's just funny to watch. Definitely go check out The Campaign if you guys haven't seen that. Alright, coming in at number 8, I'm going to go with Head of State. Now, this, of course, stars and is directed by Chris Rock. And here you got Chris Rock as the DC public servant Mace Gillum, who is thrust into a national spotlight when he's asked by Martin Geller, played by Dylan Baker, the head of Democratic Party to run for president after the party's presidential and the vice president nominees ends up getting killed in a plane crash. You also had the late great Bernie Mac was in this. Chris Rock, I mean, whoever thought that Chris Rock could do a funny political comedy like this, Chris Rock was awesome here. I believe it was his also, I'm trying to remember, I think it was his directorial debut as well. So, Chris Rock could do, he's pretty good when it comes to directing films as well. And Head of State is a hilarious one. I really miss Bernie Mac. I mean, Bernie Mac was hilarious in this one as well. I mean, this has some really fun political aspects to it. Is hilarious. I mean, if you guys haven't really seen Head of State yet, give that one a shot. Okay, number 7, I'm going to add Team America World Police. Yes, this is pretty much political. And Team America, of course, directed by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the same creators who gave us South Park and all. This was actually the last film they actually did. They haven't really done movies since then. I mean, Team America World Police just mainly has puppets, alright? And, of course, the villain is led by Kim Jong-il. And I mean, let me just put it this way. This film features puppet sex, okay? Yeah, I mean, just think, some poor fella had to actually animate that. Yeah, who remember that scene in Team America? Come on. But anyway, Team America is still super awesome. I mean, it's really hilarious. Of course, you know, it features some interesting celebrities in this, like Samuel Jackson, Matt Damon. Who remember that one? I mean, Kim Jong-un pretty much playing like the dictator, main villain in this. He was pretty much a villain in real life, but you know. Anyway, Team America is a really fun one. I mean, it's pretty much a whole comedy that tells a story with puppets. You know, whoever knew that could actually work and all. But man, Trey Parker and Matt Stone was able to make this film work perfectly. Had some really fun political message. I mean, probably one of the best iconic speeches I've ever seen put together in a film. I mean, I'm not really gonna repeat the speech, but if you guys remember the speech that was featured in Team America, yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, if you guys haven't really seen Team America by now, it's such a funny one. Too bad Trey Parker and Matt Stone never did a sequel, because I would love to have seen another Team America. Alright. Coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 6, I'm going to go with the film It Across the Sea. Now, of course, this film got released back in 2006, I believe. And, got the average and, everyday private Joe Barris, portrayed by Luke Wilson, who is selected to take part as in a secret military experiment to put him in hibernation for like a year, along with a woman named Rita, who is, of course, by the way, of course, Rita in this is played by Maya Rudolph, who is terrific at playing Kamala Harris on SNL. Hopefully, we'll see her play that role for more years, because Maya Rudolph is a great Kamala Harris. But anywho, and so, like, of course, the slumbering duo is forgotten when the base they are starting is like closed down, and they are pretty much left in the SAS until 2505. And you actually got Terry Crews as the president of the United States. I mean, there are so much funny stuff in this and it was pretty cool seeing Terry Crews as the president. I mean, whoever knew that could actually work. The movie is, of course, directed by Mike Judge, the man behind films like Office Space, TV shows like King of the Hill. Mike Judge did a pretty good job at directing this film. It's a really hilarious political-based climate. I mean, the script was pretty cool. I mean, Luke Wilson was hilarious. You know, if you guys haven't really seen It Across the Sea, it's definitely a movie I believe was ahead of its time. Like, I think this film could definitely get made today. Anyway. I mean, Mike Judge pretty much predicts some interesting future that could easily happen down the line. So, anyway. Number 5, I'm going to add the Barry Levinson film Wag the Dog. Now, Wag the Dog was a film that got released back in late 1990s, and it got released around the same year, like the same decade as, I believe it got released around the same time as the Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky affair scandal. And this is pretty much similar to that scandal, really. It stars Robert De Niro. You had Dustin Hoffman, Willie Nelson was in this. You had Woody Harrelson, Anne Heche. Now, here you had like 2 weeks prior to the re-election, the U.S. president lands in the middle of a sex scandal, and so like in the need of to help quell the situation. You got presidential advisor Winfried Emmons, played by Anne Heche, who elicits the expertise of spin doctor Conrad Brink, played by Robert De Niro, who ends up deciding on a distraction is the best course of action here. And he ends up approaching this Hollywood producer named Stanley Motz, portrayed by Dustin Hoffman, to help him fabricate a war in Albania. I mean, Wag the Dog, of course, is directed by Barry Levinson, the man behind Rain Man, Diner. Wag the Dog is it's more of a dark comedy, but it's still hilarious. Of course, it was kind of funny to see a comedy about a sex scandal. I mean, like I said, this movie got released around the same hype as Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky thing. So, yeah. Anne Heche was pretty solid in this one. Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman was great. Of course, later on they worked together on Meet the Fockers, so there's that. But if you guys haven't really seen Wag the Dog yet, it's a really funny play one. Alright, coming in at number 4, I'm going to add the 1940s classic, The Great Dictator. Now, this, of course, stars Charlie Chaplin, who I believe directed the movie, too. And here, you got a Jewish barber played by Charlie Chaplin, who spends years in an army hospital recovering from his wounds here, and so he is unaware of the similarities rise of the fascist dictator Anika, also portrayed by Chaplin, and his anti-Semitic policies. And so when the barber, who also bears a remarkable resemblance to the dictator, returns to his quiet neighborhood, he is stunned by the brutal changes and relentlessly joins a beautiful woman played by Paulette Goddard and her neighbors in rebellion. I mean, I believe this was actually Charlie Chaplin's first speaking role, because if you guys don't know, Charlie Chaplin, was best known for the silent movie era, and I mean, Charlie Chaplin was an icon in the silent era. So it's kind of cool to see that he decided to go ahead and do a speaking film for a change. That was pretty cool. I mean, this movie, I don't think it's a film that would probably get made today, but Charlie Chaplin, I mean, I don't know if Charlie Chaplin's, sense of humor could really work today, but Charlie Chaplin was terrific in this. I mean, Anyway, of course, in this film, you had Chaplin playing not one but 2 characters in this, so that was pretty cool to watch. Yeah, it was a really hilarious one. If you guys haven't really seen The Great Dictator, give that one a shot. It's a classic one. Alright, coming in at number 3, I'm going to go with election. Now, of course, the election doesn't always have to involve, politics don't always have to involve president, mayors, governors. They could also involve schools, alright? And that's what we get with the 1999 comic classic, Election, starring Reese Witherspoon as Tracy Fagg. Of course, this film was also directed by Alexander Payne, who later would go on to direct films like The Descendants. He will also direct stuff like Nebraska. Alexander Payne's a really solid director. And so here you got Matthew Broderick, portrayed by who plays this character named Jim Malclister, who is this well-liked high school government teacher who can't help but knows that the successful student Tracy Flick, portrayed by Reese Witherspoon, uses like less than ethical tactics to get what she wants here, and so Tracy ends up running for school president and all. And it's, I mean, election. It's a 1990s it's of course got released in late 1990s, but it's still a funny one. I mean, you also had Chris Klein from American Pie fame, Reese Witherspoon, of course. The high movie script was terrific. I mean, she pretty much, I guess you say, played a bit of a mean girl here, but she played Tracy Flick really well. Matthew Broderick, it was always kind of funny to see Matthew Broderick go from a high school student in Ferris Bueller. She pretty much playing like a high school government teacher. That was pretty funny to watch. I mean, Election, the movie got released in 1999, and it's still from that, I believe, still holds up today. Lots of people nowadays still knows what Election is. It's a hilarious one. If you guys haven't really seen Election, give that one a shot. Alright, number 2, I'm going to add the film Dr. Strangelove, also known as Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Now, of course, this is a 1964 satire black comedy that was produced, written, and directed by the great Stanley Kubrick. And, I mean, you've got Peter Sellers, who plays, like, very different characters here. He pretty much improvised so many of these iconic characters, including the Tyler character, a nuclear scientist who has also a hard time escaping the Nazi background. You even had George C. Scott, who's no stranger for the political climate because of the movie Patton he was in years ago. Of course, this movie also takes place during during the Cold War as well. I mean, this movie is a hilarious one. Peter Sellers, of course, he was a comedy icon. I mean, come on, he was the Pink Panther in the Pink Panther movies. Peter Sellers was iconic, and Stanley Kubrick, it was pretty cool to see Stanley Kubrick direct a film like this, because he's always best known for directing movies like A Clockwork Orange. But this is a really solid film that Stanley Kubrick directed. Of course, he also gave us 2001: Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick is a legend, and he did a pretty good job with this. The movie was, of course, black and white, so there's that. It has some really funny, iconic lines. I mean, this is pretty much a political satire, but it works out really well. If you guys haven't really seen Doctor Strange, give that one a shot. Well, Doctor Strangelove. Doctor Strange is a totally different film. Alright. My number 1 favorite political comedy goes to the Ivan Reitman 1993 film, Dave. Now here you got the White House Chief of Staff Bob Alexander, portrayed by Frank Langella, who hatches a scheme to use a double for the president, who's portrayed by Kevin Kline. And so you got the small and so you also got the small business owner named Dave Kovic, also portrayed by Kline. So Kevin Kline plays like 2 characters in this one, and so he pretty much wants to use him as a double to fill in for the president and all that. You also had you even got Sigourney Weaver as the first lady, who is Sigourney Weaver. I mean, of course, her and Ivan Reitman both worked together on the Ghostbusters movies, so that was pretty cool to see them together here. Dave is really hilarious. I mean, I really always like the chemistry between Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver. You could really buy Kevin Kline as the president of the United States. He played the president really well here. Dave had some really fun comedic timing. Who knew that Kevin Kline, he could do dramas, but man, he could do comedy really well. And Dave is a comedy that shows that he's pretty great when it comes to the comedy genre. Frank Langella was, of course, great in this. I mean, if you guys never really seen Dave, it got released in 1993. Was it 93 or 90? I think 93. It's still a really terrific one. You also had a few other good castles, like you had the likes of Ving Rhames, Ben Kingsley was in this. It's a really good cast of actors was in this. So yeah, definitely go check out Dave if you guys ever seen that. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. 10 Black Sheep, 9 The Campaign, 8 Head of State, 7 Team America World Police, 7 Intercrossity, 5 Wag the Dog, 4 The Great Dictator, 3 Election, 2 Dr. Strangelove, and number 1 Dave. Now there's loads of other ones I probably could have added too. Let's see, what else we got here? Alright, The Dictator with Sacha Baron Cohen, I probably could have had that one. Election comedies. Most recently, that Irresistible movie with Steve Carell that was directed by Jon Stewart. That was actually pretty good. I guess you could count Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, come on, vote for Pedro. Let's see. Or what else we got here? Alright. So I should have got this before I made this video. Let's see. Already said Head of State. Oh well, The Interview is a pretty good one. I mean, I remember when The Interview got released, that movie pretty much almost got us killed. All right, but I was actually able to watch it in theaters. But yeah. Anyway, other stuff. Duck Soup from the Marx Brothers, The American President. Okay. My Fellow Americans with Marlon Landau and Dan Aykroyd. That's a pretty good one. Let's see. South Park Big Long. I guess you could count. The Candidate with Robert Redford. The Death of Stalin. Being There. Bananas. In the Loop with James Gandolfini's a pretty good one. Beavis and Butthead Do America. The Comedy Dick. That's a pretty good, funny one. Bulworth. Oh yeah, there's some really, classic ones here. Anyway, let me leave you guys. What are some of your favorite political comedy movies? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. This is CMovies signing off.